One of the most egregious data breaches in history took place during the Second World War when a valet for the British ambassador to Turkey turned out to be a Nazi agent. While confidential information was compromised, the really astounding part is just how easy it was for the information to be stolen. This is the story of Elyesa Bazna, aka Agent Cicero. An Albanian in the Ottoman Empire, Bazna moved to Istanbul as a child during the final years of the declining empire. His penchant for stealing things manifested early, leading him to be caught and sent to a French penal labor camp for 3 years. On his return home, he became a valet, first to the Yugoslav ambassador to Turkey. He would exit this world to try to become a professional singer, but he failed and promptly returned. By 1942, he was working for a German businessman who also worked for the German embassy when he was fired for reading through confidential mail. He then started working for a secretary at the British embassy who would recommend him to the ambassador himself. This sets the stage. By 1943, Bazna was the valet to the British ambassador to Turkey, Sir Hugh Montgomery Knatchbull Hugeson. Despite it being in the middle of a world war, and being in a country that, in the last war, had fought against the British, the ambassador didn't bother to screen his valet. When MI5 realized, they did an evaluation and pronounced Bazna too stupid to be a spy. Ridiculously, one reason for this was that he spoke English poorly, which, given that they were in Turkey, probably applied to most people. Obviously, that evaluation was wrong, or I wouldn't be making this video. While Sir Hugh bathed, as he did twice, every single day, Bazna made impressions of his keys and had them turned into keys he could use, most notably to access secure diplomatic documents. From that point on, Bazna began taking photographs of every sensitive document passing into the embassy. Guys, who left the idiot valet alone with all the top secret information? But remember, he didn't even understand all of what he was photographing since his grasp of English was poor. He then contacted the German embassy in Turkey through the German man who had previously fired him for taking pictures of his own things. He was referred to a man named Ludwig Moisich, an SS intelligence officer, and offered him the information for £20,000. He wanted British money, not trusting German currency. The Germans codenamed him Cicero. He set up his own darkroom on site in the basement to develop the film. But why? He was motivated by money. He lusted to feel important. He wanted an adventure. He even lied to the Germans, saying his father had been killed by an Englishman to justify his actions. Anyway, the only reason he was able to have such good access to the documents is that the ambassador liked to work from his home office rather than from the more secure embassy. His reported penchant for taking sleeping pills also made Bazna's job easier, since he didn't have to worry about Knatchbull waking up as he snuck around. Regardless, the Germans didn't fully trust him. He was simply providing too much information. It had to be a British setup. The quality of the information was just too good. The photographs were clear and professional, yet he said he was working alone. The Germans expected him to lead them into a trap, but they still kept paying. By early 1944, he'd made as much as £300,000 from his information. Also, Ribbentrop, the foreign minister, and Schellenberg, two high-ranking Nazis, had an ongoing competition that made using the information difficult, since they had conflicting views of Cicero's reliability. Ribbentrop refused to trust Cicero, and he would not support acting on the information. The Germans helped him make better copies of Knatchbull's keys, including the key to the ambassador's safe. But then, things started to break down. Ludwig Moisich's secretary turned out to be an American agent. To be fair, she was the daughter of the German consul general in Bulgaria, so she seemed trustworthy. She fled to America, and a panicked Bazna fled to South America, fearing that she would expose him. His identity was also exposed to the Americans by Fritz Kolb, an anti-Nazi German diplomat. Kolb had actually offered his services to the British first, but they'd kicked him out of the embassy, thinking him to be a plant. Anyways, Bazna arrived in South America, and promptly discovered that he was completely broke. The Argentine bank he was using informed him that every cent he had deposited was counterfeit. He tried to sue the West German government after the war, which failed. He published a book about his experience in the early 1960s, but died soon after. A Hollywood movie, Five Fingers, was released based on these events. That was all. Agent Cicero simply remains an example of what not to do during a war. Like, leave a random guy alone with your documents.